shuffle the king closer to the corner. White's king will step to b1, and then it's a quick comparison. White's king safer than black's king. White's pieces more active than black's pieces. Advantage Magnus Carlsen. And in the meantime, on the left board of our screens, Abdusittarov throws another pawn into the mix. All of black's pieces at work in that board. White's king, white's pieces, they look like easy targets. It's still Wesley So in big, deep trouble. And Wesley was able to win Nordebek's queen. Sacrifice his own queen. Nordebek took Wesley's queen in an earlier game. Here it looks like something similar could happen. That if on the right-hand side of our screen, Wesley takes this pawn on c5, which he just does, look at Nordebek. He's not taking that pawn back. He's taking the other pawn in the center. But this isn't an imitation of game two. Unlike that one, Wesley's king is in trouble. So it's a similar piece dynamic, but it's not peaceful because White's king is unsafe.
Yeah, really interesting that queen versus rook and a minor piece. We see a similar thing. And now Nordebek has made a move which the bar disapproves. It's the most natural-looking move to me. Does this give Wesley the opportunity to capture that a7 pawn, which you can easily forget about?
I think he's relying on a trick here, Abdusittarov, but he's missed a trick of his own. If pawn takes pawn, if white's pawn captures on a7 on that right board, black's queen can slide the whole way across the board to a4 and deliver a check. Black's queen will check the white king and actually save the day. The a file is covered. But white can prevent that by first playing rook to d4, white's rook sliding up to the center here and now in this position. The fact that Wesley has paused means he's likely to see this. Oh. And once the black queen is kicked away from the fourth rank, then pawn takes pawn, white is about to make a new queen. Abdusittarov has lost control.
This is a critical moment. If Wesley So finds rook to d4, blocking out, shutting out that queen on the queen's king side, and he does find it. Wesley So is missing nothing today.
Great find from Wesley and a horrible oversight from Nordebek. It happens to all of us, but look at how much time Nordebek has left on his clock. I've talked about how he punishes his opponent by keeping control on the clock. He played too quickly there, and now Wesley has a fighting chance. And maybe not just a chance. He might be better. I actually might prefer the white side if I can take that pawn on a7 the next turn. That's an annoying passed pawn that black's going to have to deal with, and black's king itself is not safe.
And black will have to move up with the king to stop that pawn from promoting to a8. Once the queen moves back, white captures the a7 pawn. Black will have to stop it from promoting to a queen, which will give Wesley time to capture the f3 pawn.
Yeah, Abdusittarov, this is his biggest strength, but maybe also one small weakness in his game. He relies on calculation. He backs everything up concretely. He always wants to play the most active, ambitious moves. He didn't need to, though. He'd already pocketed Wesley's queen. He could have just simply captured that white pawn off the board, the white pawn that now sits on b6, that's about to go closer to promotion. He could have taken it 2 moves ago. We would be arguing about the same position, but with black in full control. Instead, we're talking about Wesley about to make a new queen, about to promote, just as he did in the previous game. And a material breakdown. White has a rook, white has a bishop, and white's about to have the strongest pawn on the board. Yes, black has a queen, but that's not the most important factor anymore. Abdusittarov inside, he's going to be kicking himself.
And black's king will not be safer than white's on the right-hand side of the board. Wesley's king has been running. Now it's hidden. It has some shelter. The black king will not receive so many pieces in front of it because you've already traded off many. And on the left-hand side of our screen, we just saw a trade where Fabiano, he gives up his bishop for a knight. So it's an advantage for Magnus. Healthier pawn structure on the left-hand side of our screens here, where black has those 3 pawn islands, isolated pawns in the F and H files, and the light-scored bishop that can start poking at him.
I've seen Magnus win countless positions with a small strategic advantage, better pawn structure, better minor piece. Magnus in control. It's what we would call a 2-result game. Really flashy move here. Magnus on the left board, moving his rook up, swinging it across. The rook is untouchable because black's knight in the center is pinned. Magnus, he's having all the fun. If Fabi defends well, it's going to be a draw, but almost 0 chance of black winning that one.
And with that rook lift, what Magnus wants to do is try and provoke more weaknesses on the queen side by sliding it all the way across. Fabi preempts it, makes the move b6. Meanwhile, Nordebek still in the think. It's clear that rook d4 was missed by him.
Yeah, not a doubt. Abdusittarov took a long think there. The black queen has moved away. The only black queen remaining on either board right now. And Wesley is about to establish a monster pawn. Look at that white a-pawn now, the new a-pawn, about to promote, about to land a touchdown. Black's king has to move.
But the problem is, no matter where the black king moves on the right-hand side board, that the king is walking into a dark square diagonal, that the bishop on b2. It's been a bad piece all game, but it is going to have its fun, because if you go to g7, we have a full diagonal from that bishop on b2 all the way to a king on g7. But no, he gives a check, and the evaluation bar is going up, up, and away. Why can't white just move the bishop and block that check?
Oh, maybe the answer is you can move the bishop, even if you sidestep the king. I'm not sure what Abdusittarov is aiming for with this check. Wesley So doesn't have too much time, under 2 minutes, but he has, for the first time in this game, a superior position.
I mean, I'm just thinking about what you said. Abdusittarov, what does he have in mind? If the bishop does move forward, he's threatening to queen on the next move. He's attacking black's queen on the other side of the board. The only trick you can set up is of discover checks by grabbing that bishop with your own knight and relying on the tactics that when white promotes, and I think we're going to see this play out, knight takes bishop, white promotes the queen, move up with your king, attack the white queen, and you're threatening discover checks.
Wow, Abdusittarov might have tricked Wesley So, he lured him in with the bait. White has made a new queen, so I said there was only one queen remaining on either board. Suddenly, white has a queen on that right board, but the queen is attacked in the corner on a8 by black's rook, and the threat of this discovery against white's king could be terminal. Wesley's new queen drops back, walking into the firing line here. Something is lining up. Look at that white king. It's about to be checked left, right, and center, but Wesley, is he surviving? Big question.
Wesley on the right-hand side is up a rook at the moment, but that knight can actually deliver a check on f2, and then the queen hits the king, the knight hits the rook on h1. So I'm just trying to keep count of all the pieces on the right-hand side. And quick note on the left-hand side, as Magnus just made his move, Fabiano is defending this perfectly. Every square that Magnus puts pressure on, Fabiano has it covered. The h5 pawn is defended, the e6 knight is defended, so Fabiano is doing everything correctly on the left-hand side, and he still has a minute on his clock.
But Magnus is going to continue to try to squeeze water out of stone there with the bishop versus knight complex, pawns on both sides of the board. He's going to play this on Fabi down to a minute. He needs to keep those defenses up. Can Nordebek find the big check here? And he decides to go with knight f2, attacking that rook. First question, where are you moving with your king?
You've got to slide to the right or you've got to slide back. And he slides back to c1, a safe square, and white's rook disappears in the corner. I've got to say, all the drama is happening on the board between Wesley So and Abdusittarov. It's one of the craziest games you'll ever see. New pawns promoting halfway through a game, rooks disappearing in the corner. We do a material count. We see suddenly it is almost level. White is up a pawn after all of that mess, but the attack continues against the white king, potentially.
And the black king is really not that safe either, because if you can imagine the c3 pawn on the right-hand side of your screen, if that was thrown off the board, that bishop on b2, it's just lurking back there, and there could be threats. But I think that Nordebek can just take this knight on g3, the pawn will recapture, and the queen can take that pawn. It's becoming messy, the material will be even, but I like Nordebek's clock the most. Whoa!
Whoa.
No, that was a DGT error. There's no way Wesley would push a pawn instead of recapturing. That sometimes happens. And look, that bishop's alive.
I love that last move by Wesley. He pushes the c-pawn. It doesn't aim at queening or moving forward, but it's all to activate that bishop on b2, which to me is a very scary piece. I don't care what the eval bar says. That bishop on b2, eyeing that black king on g7, I'd be worried in this position.
Yeah, Wesley forgot to play b3 on move 1, fearing cutting his dark squared bishop. But finally, now on move 28, he's activated that beast, that monster, that archer, that sniper from afar. That white dark squared bishop is the most valuable piece right now. But it's all about the checks. It's all about the mutual attacks. And black's king steps forward, hiding out in the open on a light square. And Wesley drops back with his rook. Whose king is weaker? It's so difficult to tell. The players are now down under the 2-minute mark. This one is chaos. It's going in any direction.
What a move from Nordebek Abdusittarov. King up to g6. I was not at all looking at that. I think he can just steal this pawn on f3, and then he can always block a check on the g-file with his knight. So I believe that Nordebek he can take the pawn f3, get a bit closer to the white king, and what a brave decision by him.
He gives a check instead. Did we see him move? That was Magnus Carlsen. I think he's still thinking about it. I was thinking give a check and get the queens off the board. Your king is on g6. If Nordebek Abdusittarov, he can grab a pawn, he can give a check, he chooses a third option. He doesn't care. His king is up in the open. He's going for the c-pawn. Wesley rightly sidesteps any checks on the c-line, moves away, and Nordebek goes pawn hunting. No queen trades.
He's a pawn up. Nordebek here adds black. Both kings are equally weak right now, but black also has 2 passed pawns on that board. Abdusittarov, I think he's a big favourite. The black H-pawn will just start running. Meanwhile, the Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana board still level, still Magnus trying to probe away for weaknesses, still looking to dominate the black knight with the white bishop. But wow, Wesley, so let's focus on this one on the right, because that's where the money match is.
Oh my goodness. Queen G7 check is the threat. That knight cannot capture the queen. And that's why Wesley slid his king to the corner, so the black queen can't deliver a useful check. And I think that for Nordierbeck to bring his rook back, he does just that. That H-pawn is really dangerous. It was a one-check threat. That has been stopped. Nordierbeck's about to run that pawn up the board.
And this is White's moment to try to perhaps get more pieces into the attack. That knight on a3, only if it lands on the king side, it will give Wesley the chances that he needs. And he starts with his journey, knight b5, heading to the center of the board with knight d4 coming in.
Wow, the computer, the evaluation bar might say that black is better. Abdusittarov has the advantage, but in practical terms, the white king is suddenly safe in the corner. And Wesley, I think he's got great chances of turning it around. Both players around the 40-second mark. And now big threat against White's rook. He gives a check first, Wesley, so...
But the bishop can block it?
Brave check there, forcing the white queen into the corner. And meanwhile, on the other board, the evaluation bar shoots up Magnus Carlsen. Is he winning? Can Magnus trade off the rooks? He's won a pawn, Magnus Carlsen. Caruana's defenses are cracking.
Yeah, the rooks are gone, and that's an extra pawn. It can run up the board. So while all attention was on Nordierbeck's board, suddenly Magnus Carlsen steals a pawn, and I think he's going to win game 3.
Just do not play Magnus Carlsen in endgames. It is bad news, and he does it. He creates his magic. But let's focus on the right side of the board right now. Rook to e8. Queen e4, putting that queen back on h1 by Wesley. So to me, that was a really surprising call.
Well, Danny knows all about that, playing the Scotch, and then you're getting your queen stuck on h1. So, Danny, there's your shout-out. But right now, Nordierbeck deserves a huge shout-out the way he's been playing. And Wesley's down under 10 seconds.
Seconds, absolute chaos. Is the black king going to march up further on the board? But you have to stay connected to that h5 pawn. What is Nordierbeck thinking about? Is he going to capture the bishop on b2?
Wow.
He does it.
And checkmate within 2 moves is threatened. Abdusittarov going for the white king now. Wesley keeping things alive with a nasty move.
What a sick move from Wesley on the right-hand side. That rook looks like it's free, but if you take that rook, knight back to h4 with check, we're seeing a repetition. I don't think Nordierbeck has better. Wesley, so what a find.
Rook to g2, that has to be the move of the day. But right now, 3 seconds, and he captures the knight. Nordierbeck is going for it. He doesn't repeat because that's not an option on the table.
Wow, Nordierbeck, a draw and a loss is the same thing. So he keeps the game alive. He doesn't repeat. But now it's a material imbalance. White has a rook. Meanwhile, okay, Magnus does take the win in his game, pass pawn running through. But Wesley has a rook for black's knight and 2 pawns. That one, anything could still happen, our remaining game.
And look at that. Nordierbeck throws his pawn even further. Please take my pawn. Your rook is hanging on Joe. And Wesley down under 5 seconds. He slides his rook to help defend his queen. But those pawns are looking awfully scary.
Ooh, and another check. The white king advancing. I've never seen 2 kings do more exercise, more work than they have in this game. Still black on the attack, and his king advances as well.
And the pawns keep rolling down the board. Nordierbeck with determination is going for it. He does give a check. Is he going to pick up the c4 pawn as well? Well, it stays defended with the king moving back. Nordierbeck has to find a way to start pushing those pawns.
Look how visibly nervous both players are on the camera, both shaking back and forth. Wesley fiddling with pieces. Queen's off the board. It's a race. It's a pawn race.
Those black pawns are really quick, but look how quickly Wesley's going after the b7 pawn. If he can grab that, he's a passer of his own. And Nordierbeck said he believes Wesley's shaking time trouble, and there it goes.
And blunder, White's king going back. White's rook taking a pawn, but black's pawns are too strong. Black can push the e-pawn perhaps right now. Black can give a check with the knight first. He's running through, he's promoting, he's going to make a new queen.
Nordierbeck on the brink of victory in this one, but he's got only 5 seconds to make it happen, and now he can promote. Can he go e1?
He
Pick up the rook?
He can, but he's worried the white pawn will also go and promote, so he keeps the knight on e5 to cover that c6 square. I think that was a great try by Nordierbeck here.
And Wesley was stuck. Wesley had no good moves. The white pawn kept under lock and key, and some drama there. Touching a pawn, Abdusittarov, but he drops his knight back. Is he going to be able to break through the white rook? White's rook is holding 2 pawns simultaneously.
And Nordierbeck making moves with just a second on the clock, gains some time, gives a check now, but if he goes back, that could be a 3rd time repetition.
But if he goes knight f3, knight g1, he gets the queen with check. So the white pawn steps forward twice, but black queen's first with check, and here it comes.
He's found it. He's found the winning idea.
And Wesley knows it.
Yeah, frustration from Wesley So and resignation from Wesley So.
What a fantastic fantastic game. I've never seen anything like that. Nodibek Abdusittarov scores a win with the black pieces. And he can't believe it. We can't believe it. What a game.
What a game. The players discussing. This is nice to see.
There really are no words, but somehow these players are talking about the game.
I think they're analyzing so many critical moments. And you can see them pointing at the board, and they've got a round to play.
I think they're discussing the endgame, the final stages. Could White have saved the game?
And it looks like Nodibek found some way to actually convince Wesley of his advantage there. And they've got a fourth game coming up. And we have got a match on our hands.
Oh, my goodness. Nodirbek Abdusittarov. He brought the heat. Wesley was so close to surviving. He found a brilliant tactic by stepping his rook up. But just what a game from Nodirbek Abdusittarov. Unreal.
The chosen one strikes back, taking the match to the fourth game. And Nodibek has to do it again to go into Armageddon. Meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen as well.